Philip's funniest moments, okay?
Hey, lovely.
We're live already. Oh my God, I look like a scared rabbit, Kim. I don't know what to do. Like, seriously, I need sunglasses. Then I might not look like a scared rabbit anymore. I don't know. Maybe I will. I'm really unsure.
Well, you know, that's a bit echoey, isn't it?
Are you echoey? Yeah, it's a bit.
Oh, right. Let's see what we can do. We don't want to destroy everybody's ears, do we?
Echo is no good.
That better?
Hello?
Hello. Having too much fun for a Friday.
We are, actually. Tyler wanted to come on, but when I told her it was video, she got a bit panicked. She was panicking because it's early for her. It's early, yeah, in the morning. So
what's been going on for you this week?
Well, Prince Philip died.
Yeah. That's
I'm a bit upset about that. I'm not going to lie. I quite like the old guy, to be fair. How old was he?
Is he 99?
He must have been 99. But I'm going to have a look for some of his greatest quotes. What a difficult position that he was in, though, right? Very tough to be behind the Queen there like that, you know? Yeah. In many ways. Very, very difficult. But yeah, I mean, I think this week certainly, you see, Sherry Hinnish, she's not camera ready, or she would do it as well. It's early in the morning, you see, for these people. Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
It's difficult. We should. Next week we're going to be here. So, Jonathan is here. So he may join us to talk about Prince Philip. Potentially, you never know. Know. But no, I think certainly for me it was a bit of a reflections kind of week for me. Because I'm writing this book, right? It was literally a sort of week where I was kind of just reflecting upon the past kind of 12 to 20 years in my life, right? And saying, well, you know, were there some sort of turning points that kind of, when maybe I made a rash decision, or I made a conscious decision, but at that particular time in my life, you know, I kind of, obviously, like everyone, missed opportunities, but also grabbed opportunities that were kind of there, right? And so it was quite interesting, you know, because I kind of looked back, and when IBM kind of invited me to go to Think Marketing back in 2015, that was a massive turning point for me, because I'd been wanting to hear Will Smith speak for like years, because he's really inspirational, but also I'd wanted IBM to fly me out to Think so that I could network with some people there and that kind of stuff. And you know, I joined that futurist community and met like some of the most amazing people in the world, and they've transformed my life. You know, like best-selling authors and business partners like John and various other people who've inspired me and supported me on my way to kind of move forwards with my life, right? And it's pretty amazing, isn't it, Kim? Really,
it's amazing how a seemingly chance encounter or one little move can totally change your lives, can't it? I mean, if we think about the fact that we met by chance, didn't we, doing a podcast, nearly a year, maybe 18 months ago, and now look, we work together every day. Bless you. I bet you're wishing you never invited me on as the guest.
I wouldn't say that, Kim.
You do sometimes.
No, I think where there's pain, there's growth.
They do say, or rather I do say, that you only grow through your pain if you go through your pain.
It's true. So I think Jonathan may join us. So I'm going to try and send him a link because I think he may join us. So let me just grab a link from somewhere. Here we go. I'm just getting used to using this piece of tech, right? And it's nerve-wracking when your co-host doesn't show up until like bang on the time when you're gonna, be in there. Really, it's a difficult one.
And then that worries you, does it?
But it stresses me out. I get a pain in my chest. It's actually like every day, really, working with you, Kim. To be fair.
What, it's a pain in your chest?
Yeah, I get a pain in my chest.
Well, that's certainly going to be a testimonial for anybody who wants to work with me.
No, I'm actually kidding. I love working with you. It's what's been amazing is actually working through the self-confidence issues that I didn't really even know that I had. And that's what's interesting is, you know, I know we're doing this Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day, International Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day, and all this kind of good stuff, right? But like, I didn't actually have imposter syndrome, but I had sort of various different types of what's the word I'm looking for? Confidence issues, I would say. So in certain areas, I think people actually overcompensate by their lack of ability, by being quite brash in certain areas. And then there are other areas where people are very quiet, and actually looking into the whole kind of confidence thing has been very, very interesting for me. And actually dealing with some sort of programming that I kind of had whilst I was growing up was very, very useful, you know, to kind of go through that. Very, very useful, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, I know we've been working on it for a year, 18 months, but as you know, it's been probably a 4.5 year journey for me to overcome it, having spent 40 odd years thinking it was just who I was and how things went. And actually, the more you unpack this subject, the more you realise that actually you're not alone. And that's one of the first things. That's one of the reasons why we're doing International Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day, because actually one of the biggest challenges for anybody facing their inner imposter is you think it's only you. It's only you that has these crazy voices in your head that tells you that you're a fraud, that you're going to get found out, that you're not good enough. And one of the first steps to overcoming it is to actually be able to acknowledge it and talk about it. And we realised that when we were doing the research into it, you know, we might have International Pizza Day or International Eat What You Want Day. I think it's one of them that's out there amongst some of the more obscure, but there actually isn't one around this. And when we looked into the fact that obviously we're in the middle of International Stress Awareness Month, and although, you know, imposter syndrome isn't actually a mental disease, it does cause anxiety and it does cause stress, and it is a really hard way to be able to deal with your life. So Philip, it's actually going to be this coming Tuesday, the 13th of April. I'm just about to drop something into the chat for people. You know, if this is something that interests you and you'd like to learn more, the whole purpose of the day is really just to be able to raise awareness and to be able to share some hints and tips and advice if you're feeling like your inner critic or your imposter is getting in the way, that actually this resource should hopefully be able to help you. I'm delighted to say we're about to be joined by Jonathan. Let me add him. Hey, Lively.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm fabulous, thank you.
Good.
And I can see you're both well. So yes. Sorry.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you here. It's nice of you to join us. So, how's your week been going?
Oh, I love the way you lie so professionally. No.
What are you saying, Jonathan?
Oh, come on, you can't say,
dear,
God, you're looking terrible, can you?
What
are you doing here?
Pretty much every day.
You can't do things like no. No, it's been a good week, because after 3 months of struggling with British Telecom, we are online.
Yay.
And I've got the best download and upload that I've ever had since broadband started. So I'm happy.
That's amazing.
Yes. Well, it is BT, so it is amazing.
Oh, bless you, Philip. I know it can be such a challenge, can't it? Particularly as a self-employed person, and it's something that, you know, I talk to people about a lot. It's like, where do you pitch your pricing? And actually, a lot of that comes down to our confidence and our value. And I think one of the challenges that we face is you look at something, and you know, I struggle with this. I'll go, well, it'll only take me 5 minutes. But the reality is, it's taken me 30 years to be able to do it in 5 minutes. So people are paying for the 30 years, not the 5 minutes. And that can be really hard to get your head around. But hopefully, I mean, come along to the day, check out some of the things that are there, and I hope that they'll give you some real support in being able to regain that confidence and trust in yourself to say, actually, I'm worth this, and I do a good job, and I'm worthy of what it is that I'm pricing myself for, because you are, my love.
It's the old boiler, broken boiler story. Have you heard that?
No, please tell me.
Right. Okay. There's this big factory and the boiler breaks. So nobody in the factory can fix this boiler. So they ring in this old guy, and he comes in and he looks round, and he's looking round, and he goes up ladders, and he comes back down, and he gets out this little tiny little minute hammer, walks up to the boiler, feels along it and goes ding, and it works. So 2 days later, the owner of the place gets the invoice, and it says £1,010. He goes, what? And he gets the guy in. He said, what do you mean? He said, you just walked around. You had a look around. He said, no, all he went was ting with an hammer, and you want me to pay £1,010? He said, can you explain this invoice? He said, certainly. He said, £10 is the cost of the hammer, and 1,000 is knowing where to hit the bloody boiler.
I love it. I love it. That's amazing. And Philip, great to know.
I'll tell you about charging. About charging. Somebody said to me, I was at a magician's meeting thing. This guy comes up to me. He says, John, you do phobias, don't you? I said, well, I can. He said, great. He said, can you do my fear of flying? He said, because I want to get into cruises. I'm being offered all these cruises, and I can't do them because they fly you out to the ship. You don't just get on a ship in Southampton and then go around the world. They fly you out to the ship in a port. You get on the ship, and if it takes 4 days for the ship to get from that port to the next port, that's how long you're on. You do one show, you come. I said, right, so you'd be doing cabaret? He said, yeah, magic cabaret. I said, right, okay. I said, yeah, I can do that for you. I tested him, and he was a somnambulist. I said, yeah, I can easily do that. No problem, £1,000. He went, what? £1,000 for a bit of hypnotism? I said, how much will you earn a gig? He went, fair enough. When do we do it? A good cabaret magician on a cruise line gets paid £1,000 a show. It's not what it's worth to you or what you think it's worth. It's what it's actually worth to them. And if you remove somebody's phobia, or you help somebody find a better way of marketing, even if it's socks, then you should get something back from that. There's not the value to you, because actually, it's valueless to me. It's the value to the person that you're doing. And if you're working in therapy, and coaching, which a lot of people I know that you work with are, then you are changing their bloody life. Now, what happens if they then go out, get a career, and buy a much bigger, better house, much bigger, better car, meet somebody, have 4 children that they weren't going to have before? Hang on, that's worth what? 35 quid an hour? Are you kidding?
It reminds me of the story of Picasso in the restaurant when this lady walks up to him, and you must have heard this one, right? And
I love this one.
It's great, right? And she says, oh, can you draw me a picture? Here's a napkin. And then he draws this picture, like this amazing, I think it was a picture of a dove, and he drew it in like 30 seconds. And then he was just looking at her, and he passes it to her, and she looks at it, and he says, well, that will be, I think he said 200,000 francs or something. And she looked at him, and he looked at her, and she said, what do you mean? It only took you 30 seconds. And then he said, well, yes, but it's taken me 30 years to be able to draw that in 30 seconds, right? So I think he took it away and threw it away, screwed it up and put it in the bin, which is brilliant. But, for the people who are watching this and don't know, this is Jonathan Chase, and he's had a profound impact on my life. He sort of dropped in.
I deny everything.
I blame you for everything because he does.
I deny everything.
You blame me.
Jonathan's very undercover.
We met at Powderham Castle in Devon, and I deny everything at the Orange Tree. Remember?
Yes.
You were in a car. You were in a car. I'll tell you how bad off he was, Kim. His car hadn't got a roof.
That roof did leak.
By default.
It did leak. That's the car.
He tried to tell me it was in the boot, you know, and it was meant to be that way, but
no, it did have a roof, but it did leak. But no, that car. I've got a good story about that car. It's in my book that I'm writing at the moment.
So we forgot
I mentioned both of you in my book. I'm sorry, Kim, I didn't hear you.
I said,
I'm saying nothing. I'm saying absolutely nothing. But Jonathan's a very interesting chap. So, Jonathan, what's interesting about the last week that's happened? Apart from you've got broadband, so you're really happy. What other things have kind of happened? And obviously, Prince Philip died, which is quite sad. I liked Prince Philip, to be honest. I know he was very controversial,
but he had a bloody good innings, you know. I mean, 99 years, and you have to be stoic about it. I'm very you know me. 17 years ago, I popped off twice, and I had to have the chunkers on, and then I had a quadruple heart bypass, and you know. I was in hospital. I was in hospital not this week, but last week, because I go into AF sometimes. My heart goes all wobbly, and they have to give me drugs. And I was in there, and the consultant come up. And he said, "Right, so tell me a bit. What's all the scarring on your chest?" I said, "Oh, that was a quadruple heart bypass." He said, "Oh, how long ago was that?" I said, 17 years, and he went, because the average after a quadruple heart bypass is about 12 years. So I'm on borrowed time. So I'm very, very stoic about death, you know. And I'm 66 as well. And let's face it, there's loads of famous people that are younger than me popping off. So, so you know, it's sad for the people that are going to properly miss him, you know. But I think when somebody dies of that traditional proportion, it's sad for the whole nation, and it should be, because you know, I am a patriot. I'm a sort of a British patriot, but I'm definitely an English patriot through and through. You know, I mean, we live in a much maligned country, which. I love this when you see people on Good Morning Television swanning off about their favoured theory. And I'm sitting there thinking, do you know this is probably one of maybe 2 or 3 countries in the world where you would freely be able to sit on my television in breakfast time and waffle that rubbish. And nobody's throwing bricks at you, you know? And most of that is, I've got no rights for whatever, you know. I live my life on wheels, and have done for 10 years. It's not an old age thing. I'm not just lazy, but you know. And in the disabled world, you know, you get a lot of this. And everything's all terrible. And this is the most fantastic country in the world to live in with disability. So this week I actually bought a wheelchair that should be worth 2,500 quid for 350 off Marketplace. So
wow.
Yeah.
Electric?
Yeah. Wow. Six-wheeler. Can't get it through the bloody doors, but
oh wow, 6-wheeler. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
But I can go down to the seafront with it, which is a bonus, because this manual, you know, it's a bit heavy to push. I've no idea why.
So I mean, we're in a tough situation.
Nick's laughing because I'm 20 stone.
Well, I know. I mean, if you could get up from your chair, the blubber would, you know.
Oh.
No, that's not kind, is it?
You're the one that sowed the seed. You sowed the seed, John.
Can I say, he's on a roll today. What did you say to me earlier?
I'm always on a roll.
I was trying to be polite. I don't know quite what happened. Oh, yes, you're very corporate, Kim, aren't you?
It's all right for you, because you always look so corporate.
He does, doesn't he? Even in a hoodie.
But yesterday
He wears corporate hoodies.
I've got my IBM shirt on here. It's not a bad.
I met him for the first time. He had a briefcase. We were having lunch.
A briefcase?
Yeah, you had a briefcase, you think?
Maybe it was the rucksack.
Oh, look, that's it.
You might have been. See, he has corporate-looking rucksacks.
Yeah, actually, I do.
Yeah, honestly, it had a right go at me because it's like you're always like so corporate, and I was like, hold on, I spent yesterday dressed in a t-shirt that said "Be kind" and a pair of jeans. And he went, I didn't even notice. I was like, so how can you say I'm so corporate all the time?
You know what they say? You don't air your washing in public.
Then don't be rude to people in public, lovely.
I'm going to hide my face in shame.
Yeah,
I would do so.
Right.
I got one of them.
He's got his hat, you see.
Now I feel left out.
So what's that hat you got there then, John?
What?
What's that one then?
What? You have to ask what that is, you pleb.
What is it, Kim? He's calling me a pleb. It's not very nice, is it?
Then stand up for yourself.
That's the most fantastic football team in the world. That's Wolverhampton Wanderers.
I'm going to make a fat face in a minute.
Please don't.
No, I will. I'll make the fat face.
Please don't. I can't take it.
I've got this special setting on my camera. It means I can make a fat face. It's good.
It's not good.
You are such a sad git.
I know. I'm copying you, John.
So, on a more different note about reflections, before we really just take the gloves off and start fighting.
No, I would like. But before Jonathan came on board, Philip, he says, "It's a great team, Wolves." He says, "There you go, look, John. There you go."
We used to win things.
But I was talking about turning points in your life before you came on here and shared your wisdom.
Yeah,
and that's
so I heard a bit of that. Yeah,
that's a really important place, right? Like at that particular decision, when you make that decision, like that's what I was writing about this week in my book about, for example, if someone offers you an opportunity to go to an event, or they invite you to do a live video, or they invite you to do something, and you actually miss that opportunity, then your life is not going to change in that trajectory that it would have gone in if you'd have accepted that opportunity, right? And no, we're not talking about football. Stop trying to distract me, Kim Adele. I'm on a roll here. I'm on a roll.
I don't do anything.
So what I'm saying is,
West Brom did them, didn't they? Yeah.
Oh,
right, go on.
I can mute him. Can I mute him?
I love it. I can. Can I, Kim? Can I?
I'm going to mute you both.
To do it for you.
I'm going to mute you both. Master my mindset.
Yeah.
Right. So what I was saying was,
he's muted himself.
No, we're not playing with the mute button. We're not doing it.
Okay.
What I was saying was, if you can imagine, right, that particular time, at a particular time in life, maybe when you're John's age or older, you could meet all of those potential people who you could have become if you'd have taken that decision at that particular time and went down that avenue in life. And I found that quite interesting. It's something I've been pondering and thinking about the past couple of weeks while I've been writing this book, to be honest.
And Philip, a great point. I know a lot of people that had really negative experiences, either in corporate life or working for other people, and found that taking that leap to being self-employed really helped them unlock who they were. Because I think sometimes we can struggle to find who we are, can't we, in corporate life? I mean, I know I had a lot of years where I tried to be the kind of like the typical corporate person you expected to be, well polished, well pulled together. And And that's kind of not me, as everybody knows, because I spent my life as a hyperactive puppy dog. And then I got to a point where it was like, actually, either going to have to take me as I am, or it's not going to work for me. And once you get comfortable with just being that and just being you, the rest of it becomes easier. You know, a lot of women in corporate life will probably this will resonate with, but you know, we spent our entire life wearing black, and occasionally, you know, just mixing it up with a bit of navy blue or grey to add colour, because you weren't supposed to, you know, wear colours or be anything that made you stand out. So I think finding that confidence level, and you're right, you know, there is a lot of workplace bullying, and it really undermines people's confidence and can be really detrimental. I know loads of people who are doing an amazing job, and because possibly of the insecurity of their leader, they end up being squashed for it, or bullied or undermined. And it has such a massive impact on people's psyche. But I think one of the challenges that we've got to also look at is, what help are we giving to everybody, not just the people that are being bullied, but the people bullying? Because all of this is a sign of the fact that something's not right. It usually is somebody lashing out, because it's easier to transfer my pain to somebody else than it is to deal with my pain myself. And I think, you know, as we move into the new world of the ever challenging, changing environment, and the impacts of the pandemic, of working remotely, of automation and digitalization, we're going to need to get better at being able to communicate more effectively and with emotional intelligence, so that we don't harm each other in the process, I think.
What do you think, John?
About what?
About being bullied at work, and why people do it, and that kind of stuff.
I'm from a slightly older generation than you two, where if somebody, I had a bullying foreman in my first job. Admittedly, I was only there 6 months, because I got sacked for hitting him around the head with a frying pan. But no, seriously, I did do that. He called me a name that you didn't call me in those days. But I didn't get done for assault. I got my P45, and I got my cards and get told to run. But I come from a generation where you walked into a factory and they would take you around and try to persuade you to go and work there, because there was more jobs than workers in those days. And I come from the generation just after the Second World War, where resilience was installed in us, because the stories we heard all the time were, you know, I mean, when I was born, we still in this country had ration cards. I remember hot water. I'm only 66, but I remember hot water actually being installed in our council house when I was 9. You know, we didn't have running hot water before then. My mum had to put the fire under the boiler, heat the water, and put the hot water in a bucket for my dad when he came home from the coal mine. And you know, so I'm very stoic about this bullying. And I put a meme up the other week which got lambasted by some people, but and it was this: I can't give you offence. You can only take it. And I can't bully you. You can only be bullied. So I think maybe it's because my personality, maybe it's because I was born with a disability that made me the clumsy kid in class. So I learned to be the good fighter. And yes, bullying was part of my life, but I had to stop it because I got the cane and it was painful. And but you know, I don't want to decry the way people are thinking at the moment, but I really do think that there is. This is going to sound terrible to you guys, possibly. I really think we have a tsunami of victimhood from all sorts of people nowadays, you know, where they hear, oh, this and this and this was a bit. I mean, I was never told what to do by my parents, because my parents didn't know where I was most of the time. My dad was round the pub, my mum was up the bingo. You know, my three brothers, I was brother bullied. You know, you do this, you do that, because I was the youngest. But maybe that's brought me around to the stoicism that you know, hey, it happens, but I can just move away from it. You know, it's no big deal. I'm certainly not going to take it with me. You know, but I don't have that work, that corporate work thing, because like before I went into nursing, I worked in several different jobs. I moved furniture. I worked in a couple of factories, mostly engineering. You know, I worked down a pit for 6 days. I couldn't get me to go back the second week, but you know.
So people don't know, John's talking about the coal mine. He used to work in the coal mine.
Only for 6 days. I couldn't get me down it again.
Probably enough.
But you know, I think we've got to be awfully careful, because this medium that we're using is so hypnotic and so intrusive and so so insidious that we don't realize we're getting these suggestions that maybe you were abused as a kid, maybe you were abused as a kid, maybe you were abused as a kid. And I've talked to people, and I've seen people who have gone back and remembered things that didn't. I hypnotized a girl once who was convinced she'd been touched by her father, and when we took her back in a hypnosis, it turned out that she was watching a film when she shouldn't have been, on her dad's lap, you know, and his hand dropped because he was asleep. And she'd taken a half-remembered thing that had been exaggerated by going to therapists who digged and digged and digged. And it was an accidental thing that was lodged in her brain the way. And she said, you know, that makes perfect sense now, because that was the only time I remember. You know what I mean? It's so easy to paint everything with these labels. You know, we say we're now saying that people are borderline this and borderline that. You know, oh, you're borderline autistic, when actually you're just a bit thick when it comes to scholastic stuff, or you know.
It's no need to be rude, John.
Well, I'm sorry.
But I think,
do you get me?
I totally know what you're talking. You're talking
people in our position. We have to strike a balance as well. On you know, the fact is that some people enjoy. This is going to sound terrible, but any hypnotist, any therapist with any longevity will tell you this. Some people enjoy being a victim.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You choose.
Not everybody. No,
but you can choose that mentality, right? Like sooner or later, because the thing is, you might not even know that you're a victim in the beginning. You might not even know what a victim is. You might not even understand any of this, right? And then at the point where you understand what a victim is, then you go, no, I'm not a victim. And then you go, oh, maybe I was. And then after that, you turn around and go, well, okay, I was, and now I'm not. And that's the point. That's the point where you take control, right? It's exciting.
Well, no, but I think sometimes as well, we've got to be conscious of the fact that sometimes the biggest bully that we know is ourselves. And therefore, when somebody externally comes and says something to us, it actually just validates something that we're saying about ourselves that we don't really want to admit. I mean, I know from mine, my I am statements were I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, and I'm always alone. So if anybody wanted to push any of those buttons, they'd do it really well, because actually I've been saying that to myself for years. So when somebody else said that to me, it just validated the fact that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't lovable, I was alone. And we don't always want to admit that we're evil to ourselves. I mean, most people that meet me think I'm a really kind, really considerate woman. But if you ever knew some of the ways, some of the language that I'd used on myself that I wouldn't use on another living soul, then you wouldn't think I was very nice at all. And therefore, when other people have been unkind to me, actually all they've probably really done in my personal circumstances, because everybody's circumstances are different, in my personal circumstances, all they've ever done is replay things that I've said about myself. And that plays then to the fact that maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, maybe I should be doing something else. And it plays to that fear, doesn't it? And that feeling of being out of control. But I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt that said, nobody can make you feel inferior without your permission. And I guess that's kind of the bit I now try and do, which is, what permission am I giving them? And do I want to? But I think it's a really hard one, because we have been brought up to try and be liked by everybody. And we know, I love a quote, and one of my favourites at the minute is, I'd rather be somebody's shot of whiskey than everybody's cup of tea, having spent decades trying to be everybody's cup of tea. And you just can't do it. We're English. We could argue about how we take our tea. John's about politics and religion. It's like, we just can't agree on it. So why try and achieve something that's just not going to be achievable? And, you know, we want to be able to instead say, how do we take from that and say, what lesson do I need to learn for me? Because I can't change that person. I can't change what they do. I don't have to condone what they do. But actually, what I do need to do is take care of me. So I need to understand, like, what do I do to give myself back that bandwidth of confidence, I guess.
It's amazing, though, isn't it, how we're all obsessed with political correctness. That's what John and I talk about. That. We all three of us talk about that quite a lot.
Oh,
actually.
Come on, Nick. How many groups have all been thrown out?
Stop calling me Nick, John. I know what you're doing there. You think I don't know? So anyway, when Jonathan calls me Nick, I just can't help but laugh. Sorry. Because the thing is, when I went to meet him, he basically touched me on the arm and called me Nick and made me laugh. And ever since
it's I met every time. I'm totally anchored. You wouldn't believe it.
I'm not amused, Jonathan. I'm
totally anchored. And I don't even have to touch his arm, because all I've got to do is touch mine. Look. Anyway,
I don't know, but this political correctness thing, it's gone wrong, because what people are doing now is they're actually filtering their communications based upon what they like to talk about, but also they are filtering them based upon what they don't like to talk about. So that in essence, anything that's the opposite of what you believe or you think about doesn't exist in many cases.
Are you old enough to remember from school, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me? You can call me whatever you like, providing you don't call me late for my dinner. And, you know, I mean, I have been called some, people would say horrendous things, but somebody said to me once, on a private message, they said, this hypnotist's been saying this about you. And I said, great. And he said, what do you mean, great? I said, well, mention my name, increase my fame, you know. And I mean, I worry about you two guys. Like, I cannot put myself in your position being a total narcissist, because I've never had any feelings of doubt on who I am or what I am, you know. Like, I just totally think I'm fantastic, and I know how good I am at what I do. So I have a real problem with it. No, seriously, I have a real problem with putting myself into the position of somebody that feels, if somebody, it's the old Winston Churchill thing, the old Winston Churchill story. Some lady, something or other, one day turned around to him and said, "Sir, you're fat." And he turned around apparently and said, Yes, my lady, but you're ugly. And in the morning, no, she said, sir, you're drunk. And he said, yes, my lady, but in the morning, you will still be ugly and I will be sober. So that was a lousy telling of that joke. I'll have to rehearse. But yeah, you can change your mood so easily, you know, and especially nowadays. There's a guy I love to watch his videos. He takes weird videos and puts really funny commentaries on top of it. It's called Aussie Man. OZZIE. You'll find him on Facebook videos. And when you start, don't subscribe to the bugger because you'll be on every day watching. And he's Australian. He is Aussie Man. You know what I mean? Is a little bloke with a beard and is typical Australian. Everything finishes going up, you know, as they do, you know. And they're the happiest people in the world, I think, Australians. Unless you mention the Chinese, they don't like the Chinese.
But I think also, Jonathan, you're very
yes, I know. You got in there, didn't you, without saying shut the fuck up, you're waffling.
There's no need to swear, John. That's really
you're on prime time, lovely.
Right, this is prime time. Dear, Jonathan. What was I going to say?
He's thrown you now, hasn't he?
He does that. I had something really valuable to say there, and it just broke my thought process. Kim?
I don't know what your thought process was, my lovely.
Jonathan, you got to stop doing
that. Got me, Kim. I thought Nat has got a process.
Nat has a process, Jonathan.
Okay.
Are you going to share
the process? I don't know what to do now. I'm completely lost.
So before it just degenerates any further.
But this International Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day, right, Kim?
Yes.
Why are we doing it?
Well, we're doing it because actually it does impact 70% of people. I think a lot of it does come from what we do to ourselves, but it's debilitating having lived with it. It doesn't matter how ridiculous somebody tells you it is, it feels real. And it doesn't matter how many accolades you get. You just think that then you didn't deserve them. I remember winning awards and getting given jobs and being, flown around the world to speak on it and still going, if only they knew. Oh, it's a bit awkward. If only they knew, I was a bit hopeless. Then none of this would happen. And it's not true, but it feels real. The voice in your head is so credible that it's hard. And the other challenge that you've got is it doesn't switch off. It's a little bit like, I look at bullying today and I'm so grateful that I'm not a child right now or a teenager, because, when I was at school, if somebody wanted to bully you, they'd have to ring your parents and ask them to put you on the phone because, we didn't have mobile phones and the internet and that. So when they wanted to call you names, they'd have to ring up. Well, nobody did that, did they? Hi, madam, could you put your daughter on so I can just tell her she's fat? I mean, who's going to make that call? And yet now that is the culture that we're driving for our children. And I think if I think about how bad my imposter syndrome has been for so many years, and I didn't have that constant pressure of people being able to tell me how hideous I was all of the time. I mean, they can now. I mean, that's beautiful. But they couldn't then. Actually, what are we driving for our future generations, and how do we help them get out of their head and realize that actually they're not responding to what actually happened. They're responding to what they made it mean. And it's the what they made it mean that is driving their belief system, that is underpinning these stories. Because, Jonathan, back to your point where that lady had believed that she had a particular memory, but when she was able to get back to the facts, it was a different memory. So she wasn't responding to what had actually happened. She was responding to what she'd made that mean over recollection of it incorrectly. And I think that's true of, certainly true of me and where I came up with mine. I misremembered situations from my childhood and created these beliefs that became my reality. And it doesn't matter how many times people tell me that they were wrong or I shouldn't have them or they were incorrect. They were my reality. And I think that's the challenge, that reality, but perception, like possession, is 9/10 of the law. If I perceive it to be true, it's true. And until I do the work to change the perception, somebody telling me I'm wrong isn't going to change it. What you've got to be able to do is recognize that we live in a world of polarity. For every up, there's a down. For every left, there's a right. So there's two sides to every viewpoint. What we need to do is be curious to seek to understand. And once we do that, we can start to reframe the way we talk to ourselves and the way that we show up. And therefore, it's how do we move from having an inner critic to having an inner cheerleader? And some people are great. They're naturally born with that inner cheerleader. But if you haven't had the inner cheerleader, living with the inner critic can be so hard. And I guess that's why we're doing it, is to say, if it just helps one person to not live like that, to realize that there is a way that you can actually change the way you think and talk to yourself to enable you to go and live your life comfortable in your own skin, in who you are, then it's worth putting ourselves out there and giving it a try, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I've been giving it a lot of thought, and really it's about understanding the belief system that we have, and then basically learning how to take control of it so that it isn't running our lives. And in fact, there's like a harmony between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, which I know both of you are right into, Jonathan as well in particular. Where's the ice cream, John? Are we there yet?
Oh, it's this. Look, your subconscious process is here, and it's your subconscious process. Your conscious process is here, and it's your conscious process. You are two people, yeah. And the subconscious stops maturing at about the age of 9.5. It just does. Prepubescent. It's been proven that the limbic system, which is basically your subconscious mind, stops maturing and loses its plasticity, because there's this fantastic, neurological thing. Oh, you've got a plastic brain and it can change shapes and you can make it change, and and that's coming from people who have done the same thing and said the same. I love this. You've got to go through discomfort. And I was listening to a guy the other day. You've got to go through discomfort to gain growth. That's Tony Robbins, who's been doing exactly the same thing, saying exactly the same thing in exactly the same way for the last 35 years. Never changed his message once. Never taken any huge, great big risks. You know what I mean? And it just blows my. My feelings on comfort zones. If you're comfortable, you'll be able to do what you do the best. And go and find. If you're not comfortable where you live, go and find somewhere where you are comfortable, because then you'll be able to do miraculous and remarkable things. If you're uncomfortable, you're always going to be a little bit inferior. Anyway, don't get me started on that one. But can I go back to that woman's story, Kim, because it's really important, this. She just had a feeling that she didn't feel good. Yeah. And it was a particular psychotherapist who discovered this memory. And I would personally bet my whole life savings, which is about 37 pence, but I would bet my whole life savings on the fact that it wasn't a problem until she was told it was by this particular therapist. Because not all therapists are fantastic, not all therapists are competent, not all coaches are competent, not all people are competent. Hell, I'm not competent half the time. I'm just lucky. But why she didn't feel good about the way she was and everything was that she was in a relationship that she was working hard to make work, you know. And I said, oh, right, okay. So I hypnotised her, we did some work. And I met her in town about 3 months later. And she come up to me and she shook me by the hand. She said, Jonathan, thank you. That is the greatest thing I ever did. I said, oh, great. I said, how's the old man? How's the husband? She said, oh, I got shot of him. Because she realised that what she was trying to make work was just making her feel shit every single day and making her uncomfortable every single day. And all I showed her how to do was to get the clarity of thought where she could turn around and say, you know, I'm looking at this now in the cold light of day, and this isn't working. She said she was happier. Her husband was happier. He'd gone off with his girlfriend who he'd got anyway, and that was one of the reasons. She didn't know that, you know. But the kids were happier, you know. Everybody was happy, right? Now what you've got to do, you've got to look at yourself in the cold light of day, you know, and say, well, do you know what? I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I'm not actually any good at it. And it doesn't matter how much I do it. I could do this thing for 1 billion years and I still wouldn't be any good at it. I can sing, but not professionally. You know, there's no way I'd sing. I can tell jokes, but I wouldn't be a stand-up comic. You know what I mean? And I think one of the problems, somebody said to me, how did you become self-employed? I said, hunger. And the fact that I had to pay rent. You know, and I was in a position where I couldn't do anything. I realised when I left nursing because my muscular condition got worse and I started to fall over more than the patients, and which on a spinal injury ward was a bit bad. And they said, you know, oh, you've got Friedreich's ataxia. So I found out I was going to lose all my bodily functions and die at the age of 40, and I was 28. So my marriage at the time, my life at the time, everything collapsed into a whiskey bottle for 6 months, and you know. But I don't drink whiskey anymore. I drink, but I don't drink whiskey. But you know, I think sometimes it's best to go along with the flow, and sometimes it's best to say, hey, it sounds so trite, but I have the ability to say this, okay, that wasn't good, but what sort of opportunity is it? You know what I mean? Where can that take me? What can that do for me? You know, I'm lucky. I've always been an intrinsic show off, and maybe a bit of a narcissist. I actually like being me, you know. And if somebody else doesn't like me, it's their loss. It's not mine. You know.
It's funny though, isn't it? When you start thinking about, you know, we all want everyone to like us, right? But like Kim was saying earlier, like, when you get to that point where it's like, well, you either accept who I am and you like who I am and you enjoy an interaction with me, or you don't. And if you don't, it's not my problem, right? Go jog on. That's kind of the attitude that I have now. And that's just comes with maturity, I think. It comes with a certain age. You get to that age and you're like, well, actually, I really couldn't care anymore. Like, the people who are not interested in what I'm doing, what Kim's doing, what you're doing, Jonathan, are not our people, right? That's kind of, and if you surround yourself with idiots, yeah, or people that are just negative, just because they can't get out of it, then what's that going to do for you as well? Like, that's going to damage your life eventually, because you can't get beyond them. These people who restrict you. And I think being aware, like, that's the biggest thing I've taken from this last couple of weeks, is like being aware of what is around you, what opportunities there are, what processes you need to make better, and reflecting upon what you've done during the week. And that's what Kim and I normally do. And, you know, like this week's been a good week. It's been hard at times for us, but it's been good. We've done things we don't really like doing, I think, and that's, you know, and it's been difficult. But I think it's getting easier and becoming faster to do those things. So then they become more enjoyable, because then you work out actually the easiest way to do them. So, all right, you might not have liked doing them in the beginning, but actually when they become second nature, then it kind of becomes bearable, I think. You know, having this attitude of, well, if I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. It doesn't work for a small business. It doesn't work in a small business. There are always going to be things in life that you don't like doing, right? But I think if 90% of your time was those things, sure, you'd have an awful life, right? But if it's only a small percentage, I can kind of just, you know, take one for the team, right? It's kind of how I look at it, you know, really. Is that a comfort zone?
Yeah, I guess it's those bits that say, you know, we all have to. I mean, I'd love to just do the things I love to do all of the time, but unfortunately, you sometimes have to do the bits you don't love. But I get your point, Jonathan. There is that element that's going. I think the point in life is to try and get to a place where you can delegate the things that you don't like and don't enjoy to somebody who likes to do them and enjoys doing them, because then actually everybody's getting to do the thing that makes their soul sing. And, you know, when I was running teams, that certainly worked. You know, things that other people didn't like to do that I did like to do, it's like, oh, give them to me and I'll do them. But actually the thing they were like, you know, I had a lady who loved spreadsheets, and I was like, great, if that's where you get your joy, love, you take the spreadsheets and I'll take this other piece, and therefore collectively we're all going to be stronger. But I think it is that, I guess it's getting ourselves into that space where we're comfortable, isn't it? That actually we were, you know, from childhood, we were taught that we should be good at everything. You know, at school, you're supposed to be good at every subject, and you're supposed to be rounded in everything. And I just don't think it's true, because we're not good at everything. And actually, if we can just learn that we each have a skill, and that skill is going to be the thing that is our unique footprint or fingerprint, and we need to bring that to the world. What we've got to do is find where that fits with the supporting skills that mean collectively the sum of the parts is greater, and that actually it doesn't matter if I'm not good at X or Y, as long as I'm good at Z, I have a part to play on the team. And I think when we stop trying to make everybody okay at everything and allow people to be brilliant at one thing, and we know I love a quote, but for me the Pablo Picasso one sums this up, which is the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. And once I found that, I loved that, which is like, oh, I don't have to be good at everything or even mediocre at everything. I just have to find the thing that I'm supposed to actually do, and then do that, even if it feels, you know, even if that's pushing me slightly into stepping into a light I don't want to step into.
I think the thing is, speaking where I come from, you know, people say, "Oh, Jonathan Chase is a hypnotist," you know, and I've had a discussion with a woman saying, "What level of training have you had, and where did you train, and who did you train with, you know, and all that sort of thing on a hypnosis group." It just made me smile. So I said, "Well, I've got a doctorate in metaphysics. Where do we go from there?" You know, but which has got nothing to do with hypnosis, but it sounds good. And you know, and looking at it from a showbiz point of view, you know, I've been reliant on teams, but they've never been my teams. You know, you're reliant on the team in the theatre, but I have nothing to do with that. You know, I turn up and ask for a cup of tea, you know, Earl Grey, no milk, no sugar, no lemon. And I know I'm into self harm and self deprivation, but yeah, I think it's very much a case of the only person I worry about is me, and being as good as I can be at what I do. and I don't give a damn about anybody else. You know, and I don't question anybody else. I don't think about anybody else. You know, that's why now that I've got to the position that my pension's kicked in at the beginning of the year, so I'm not chasing the cash anymore. Thank you very much. And that has changed everything in a way because um, you know, I don't have to say to Jane, did you send the newsletter out? Did you do this? Did you do that? Because I don't care anymore. You know, I'm too old to die young, and I'm too old to care if I give offence to anybody. So, so you know, it's, you know, people say to you, how do I get the right mindset? The thing is, there is no such thing as a mindset. Sorry, I'm looking at master mindset. Your mind isn't set. You can change it. In fact, it changes in the course of this conversation you've gone through. Oh, that's not right. You know, oh, I'm feeling a bit down because I'm remembering this crap that happened to me and oh, I'm laughing because somebody touches his arm and says Nick, you know, and calls me Nick. And it doesn't matter how much you try and do that, I know you're laughing. But,
It's true.
and you know, you can hide behind a stoic face and that. I think what we lack is we lack this honesty that no, I don't want everybody to like me. I don't care if everybody likes me. I like being liked by the people who like me. Yeah. Let me tell you a story. We were over in Las Vegas, and it was the inaugural Hypno Thoughts live conference there, and everybody thought it was a good idea, especially for like speakers like me, to go out into Fremont Street in Las Vegas, which is the old strip, you know. And I don't know if you've been there, but it's the noisiest place on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's zip lines. It's got a roof which is an overhead LCD screen playing adverts, for God's sake. You know, it's the sort of thing that you see in Running Man and science fiction shows. You know, people say, "Oh, that'll never happen." It's been happening in Las Vegas for like 20 years. You know, but we went out there, and of course, there's a couple of cameras following me. I've no idea why. You know, and about 50, 60 people are gathered round from the conference. You know, so I'm rolling up to people and saying, "Hi, my name's Jonathan Chase. I'm a stage hypnotist from the UK, and I'm doing a show at the Orleans on Sunday, and I'm doing a conference here. Have you ever been hypnotized?" "No, I've never been hypnotized." "Would you like to be?" You know, and we were doing what we call street hypnosis, which is just showing off, you know. And we got back to the hotel, and Zoe Close, who was with us, she said, "John, I was out there for 2.5 hours with you." She said, "I couldn't walk up to anybody and hypnotize them like other people were doing." She said, "What's the secret?" I said, "You really want to know the secret of being able to do that?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't care if they say no. I just don't care. If I approach somebody and say, 'Here's a great business idea,' and they say no, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'll just move on to the next person. I might drop it. I might not. Yeah. And it's being honest with myself that I actually have the capability to not like you, Kim. I happen to like you, but I also have the capability and the right to not like you if I don't want. So if you say something I don't like, I can walk away and you no longer be part of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's right.
And the pressure is that everybody's got to like everybody, and everybody's got to, you know, apart from one ethnic group, can dislike another ethnic group quite openly and get applauded for it. But don't get me started on that one either. But you know, it's very much a case that you've got to be stoic. I think you've got to be honest with yourself and honest with the world. That not everybody in the world is nice. B, not everybody in the world is worth your time and your attention. And that your mind isn't set. Part of the way you do things is set. Nat knows I used to do a thing called mind profiling, and part of you is born. You have traits and tendencies and talents that you are born with. Yeah. You may listen to opera and love it, and I listen to opera and think that's the biggest load of rubbish in the world, and that can go deeply embedded to the way our brains actually function and the way our organ actually interprets that sound. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Because with music, and it's been proven scientifically, with music, what you hear, I don't hear. I hear something else. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it's the same with everything, I tell you what gets me. It's this idea that this biological organ that's in here, apparently it's the only organ in the human body that works exactly the same in every human being, and it's perfect. My liver produces too much of the wrong sort of cholesterol, which bungs up my my arteries.
Porridge, John, you got to have porridge. It's very good for you. But look, I think
bungs up my arteries. But the thing is, this thing here, you've got to find out what its capabilities are, and you've got to go with them.
Massive capabilities. But look, we're going to have to go because we're already 7 minutes over our hour. We were only going to do half an hour, and I know Kim's thinking about all this work we've got to do, and I'm thinking about all this work we've got to do because we're at the moment we're building a list of PR contacts and sending them emails. So we're going to have to let you go, but let's do another one of these soon because we love speaking with you, Jonathan. Really,
we do. Always a delight.
I love speaking.
No, I know.
So that makes us a good combination, doesn't it?
What's that, Kim?
Which makes us a winning combination. So for everybody that has listened in and watched, thank you so much for your time, Jonathan. It's been a joy as always, and Nat, always a delight, my love. So until next week, we will leave you to reflect on your week, and we hope you have a good one. See you next time.
Thanks ever so much. Bye bye.